Political fight in downtown Seattle today. So here I stand. Let's have that fight, right?
Where are those guys?
You know what, folks? We need to give credit where credit is due, and the first group of people that we need to give credit to is our rank-and-file police officers and sheriff's deputies. The Washington State Council of Police and Sheriffs, your rank-and-file police officers, have said publicly, opposing 594, this is bad law. It's bad law because it will do nothing to stop criminals in Washington State from acquiring or using firearms illegally. Let's give WA cops and the state law enforcement firearms instructors a huge round of applause. We also have 19 bold sheriffs in this state who have publicly opposed via the NRA 594. Here's the problem. We have 39 sheriffs in this state. Where are the other 20? Where are the other 20 elected sheriffs in the state of Washington who swore an oath to protect and defend your constitutional freedoms? Where are they? If anybody knows, let me know. Again, let's give credit where credit is due. We have 19 sheriffs, and I want to call out one in specific who have stood bravely, boldly against 594. And keep in mind, folks, this is a big deal for them because they're elected officials. They have to go to the constituents and to the ballot boxes just like guys like I do. But they've chosen to do the right thing, led by Chelan County Sheriff Brian Burnett. If you remember one name today, remember Sheriff Brian Burnett of Chelan County. He's been a leader not only in his own county, he's been a leader around the state, protecting not only his constituents' right to firearms, but yours. Give him a call, send him an email, and say, thank you, Sheriff, for doing the right thing. Let's bring your buddies with you next time. Before I go any farther, I want to address a certain group of people. I want to address the local, state, and federal law enforcement officers that are in this crowd today. You probably can't see them, but they're here, guaranteed. They're here in plain clothes, and I hope they're here protecting this rally, this peaceable assembly. But something tells me they're here surveilling, and they're here watching. Because you know what? Your government does not trust you with firearms. Let's be honest. So to those people in the crowd today that are on duty, I want to say this. The time is rapidly approaching where you will have to make a decision. You will have to make a decision between the oath that you swore when you took this office and headed down that road for training and set out on the streets. The decision point is coming. Is your job important enough to violate the constitutional freedoms of your family members, of your neighbors, of your friends? How about your paycheck? Is that enough? How about your pension benefits? At some point, you're going to have to look around at this peaceably assembled crowd and ask yourself, who is the enemy? Is it these folks today who stand here peacefully, armed to the teeth, in the middle of downtown Seattle? Or is it the statist billionaires who hate your freedoms and mine?
Mr. Judges!
That decision is coming, folks. Make it now, because when that time comes, it'll be too late. Let's talk about 594 for a second. Universal has no place in this conversation. Why? Because criminals universally break the law. Universally. Criminals will universally ignore 594. And whose shoulders will this fall on? It'll fall on mine, and it'll fall on yours. This has everything to do with law-abiding citizens, and it has nothing to do with criminals. And if these people for 1 minute would be honest with you, they don't want background checks. They don't want quote-unquote public safety checks, which is not defined in 594, ladies and gentlemen. They want total gun confiscation. That is the bottom line. And by the way, when I spoke that term, public safety background checks, if you've read the text of 594, you will know that that term is undefined. What does that mean when there's an undefined term in law? Well, the first place a bill goes after it becomes law is to the agency who is charged with enforcing it. And do you know what those unelected bureaucrats do? They write the rules to implement that law. Do you know that those rules have the same effect and force as the law itself? This bill, this initiative, if it is passed, will go directly to the Department of Licensing so that they can write rules to implement this. Unelected bureaucrats will be determining your right to firearms in the state of Washington. So poorly written is this initiative, ladies and gentlemen, that even the people who think they know can't answer basic questions. Here's the bottom line. Everyone standing here right now, and even those folks who maybe are interested in guns behind us on the sidewalk, they will become criminals in the smallest of ways and in the easiest of ways if they do not toe the line and follow the rules written by the unelected bureaucrats of the Department of Licensing. Vote no on 594. And if you think for 1 minute that 594 is the end to gun control, to gun registration and taxation in Washington State, let me remind you, Sherry Appleton's bill that she introduced early in December of last year that tried to undermine the Stand Your Ground allowance in the state of Washington. She said that if that bill stated that if a criminal entered your home in the middle of the night and intended you harm or your family harm or tried to steal your property, you literally would have to try to throw yourself out the window before you could take that assailant out with a firearm or a knife or a baseball bat. Do you know what happened because you, the grassroots, fired up and said, absolutely not in our state? You want to know what happened to that bill? It disappeared. Do you know how hard that is to do in Olympia once a bill is filed? It is almost impossible. The grassroots in Washington State made that bill disappear. You will not find it anywhere. That's what we have to do with 594. I also want to talk about House Bill 1588, which is nothing less, ladies and gentlemen, than the precursor to the horrible initiative that we're rallying against right now. House Bill 1588 was the precursor to 594. It was debated last year in the House. It made it out of committee and onto the floor. And do you know who killed that bill? You did. The grassroots. Do you know that Democrats and Republicans alike are horrified of the gun rights issue and of gun owners? Nobody wanted to take that vote. And you know what? That bill went down in flames. As proud as we are of WA cops, the rank and file officers, I want to make you aware of a group that you've probably never heard of, but that you need to become very familiar with. And that is WASPIC. Government loves acronyms. It's not my fault. WASPIC, the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. WACOPS is your rank and file officers. WASPIC is your administrators, your police chiefs and your sheriffs. Guess who sent their lobbyist, Don Pierce? Does that name ring a bell? He's on TV lying to the state of Washington about 594 in an attempt to pass it. Guess who Don Pierce was all the way up until this campaign started? He was WASPIC's lobbyist. Guess what he did in 2013 on House Bill 1588? He testified in favor of it for your sheriffs and your police chiefs. Did you hear what I just told you? Your sheriffs and police chiefs are advocating for gun control through their lobbyists in Olympia. So while our rank and file officers who stand in harm's way every day are opposing this, the administrators, their supervisors, are pushing for gun control. You need to know that. And you need to become very familiar with Don Pierce's name and with Mitch Barker's name. Mitch Barker is the executive director of WASPIC. You need to get a hold of them and you need to say, you need to uphold your oath and stop attacking my gun rights. Fight crime, not law-abiding citizens. Folks, now is the time. It is the 11th hour. It is very late in this campaign. You need to fire up your friends, your family, and your neighbors. You need to let them know what's at stake here. You need to use your social media, your email list. You need to use your phone, every association and organization that you're a part of. You need to let them know of the deleterious effects of 594 and that it simply will not stand in Washington State. And folks, keep this in mind. We need to ferociously defend liberty wherever it is being attacked. But we we must not stop there. We need to audaciously expand liberty when and where we can. Defense, and we also need to expand liberty. Let's beat 594, and then let's go down to the legislature and let's expand our freedoms. Folks, there's one more thing that I want to say. Right after I thank you for allowing me to speak here. What a privilege to stand amongst this group of law-abiding citizens in downtown Seattle against the statist billionaires who would take your gun rights from you. And this is what I will leave you with. Come and take them.